I'm going to show you guys how to install the Shrockworks bumper. Right here. I'm going to take off this one first, then we're going to put this one on. So we're going to show you the process here, show you how simple it is. You don't have to be a professional to do it. So.
I'm excited for you to have a quality bumper on here.
Heck yeah. What cuts are we going to make here?
So, Shrockworks sends you a full pamphlet of instructions on there. There's only a little bit of trimming that you've got to do, but we'll get to that. It's some of the sheet metal up here that needs to be trimmed, but it's not much. This end cap right here on the frame is the only big major cut and weld that you're going to have to do, because Toyota doesn't really do a good job of putting that end cap on. You've got to cut it and weld Shrockworks' own end caps on so that you can actually winch to it. How cool is that? 2017 bumper instructions on your phone. There we go. There we go. Taking the plastic part off of the bumper shell. So this whole plastic side. So inside the fender well right here, we're just gonna go from passenger side and work all the way around the front of the bumper. This will be the first one. All of them are, you need a 12mm socket for. So get that on there and just take them off one by one. These are what mount the entire bumper to the frame itself. So we'll go to those next. We're just spraying them with some lubricant so that they come out easier. We'll let that sit for a minute and we'll go from there. These bolts we're going to let sit for a little bit longer. They do need to come out, but we're taking the shell off first. So we're going to do these two up here. This portion is Shrockworks calls the body mount. So it's these two little flange pieces of steel. There's one bolt here, one bolt up here, and it's just a mirror image on the driver's side. So those are going to come out next. As you're taking the other side out, just be mindful that these are supporting the bumper. So be ready to either catch it or support it with something. It's obviously not too heavy, but still. Now, my calculations are correct. There it is. Here's a good view of what needs to be cut. These are the end plates I was talking about. And Shrockworks covers all of these in their instructions. These end plates need to be cut flush with the end of the frame. And we'll get to that point so we can show you a little better. Just two more bolts up here that are gonna have to come off. I just sprayed them again with some lubricant. Depending on how rusted these are, might be a good idea to get a longer breaker bar on them. Okay.
There's two on that side?
We're gonna leave one on each side so that it doesn't
fall off.
Just fall off, yeah.
Other side?
You can see a little bit more clear here, the frame end caps that I was talking about. So these are what Shrockworks have you cut off, and they supply you with end caps that go right over top of the end of the frame. The reason they do that is because essentially a bumper is mounting to these three holes on this kind of flimsy sheet metal, and if you're winching something really heavy or maxing out your winch, that's a lot of torque on the outside of all this sheet metal. It could tear the thing and just rip the whole bumper off your frame. So in the Shrockworks instructions, they give you a pretty good diagram of where to cut, as you can see there. So there it is on the instructions. In real life, it's basically right on the bottom line of this flange piece of sheet metal here. So you'll cut right there and then do the same exact thing on the passenger side. So we'll do that now. After you make that cut, this is just an extra support brace that's used for the bumper. you're not gonna use that. So you can pop out that little Christmas tree for your inner fender well, and then just bend this back and forth a couple times until it snaps off on its own. There you go. Pops off on its own, and that's garbage. So that's a good clean cut. We'll do the same on the driver's side. On the passenger side, it's a little bit different than the driver because the driver was open enough that I could move that brace back and forth and break it off. But on the passenger side, down inside here, there's a single nut that holds that brace on. And if I get my hands out of the way, you can kind of see it. Obviously not the big bolt.
But that little one with the washer.
That little one with the washer, if that comes out, that whole brace will pop off. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off now. There we go. So there's the passenger side. So now what we're going to do is, on the instructions from Shrockworks, we're gonna cut this big flange, this big end cap. We're gonna cut it to match the shape of the frame. So basically we're just gonna get rid of all this excess steel. We're gonna start to cut these end caps off. I'm gonna start by doing the basic shape of the frame first. We'll cut all that excess off, and then we'll get to that point and see how we get it off from there. So now that we've cut the excess steel off of this, we've got the basic shape of the frame. From here, we're gonna just cut the beads of the welds and get a chisel and pop that whole front end cap off. So once we get this end cap cut and some of the weeds or the welds broken, then you can come in here with a chisel, pry that. Cap that Shrockworks gives us. And after we cut this end faceplate off, obviously we'll go around and clean up the edges, but this will get welded. It actually goes on the inside per their instructions, however it'll fit. But it goes in, is welded essentially right there, like I said, on the inside. And then with a full bead of weld, then you'll have 3 separate bolting points for the bumper support brackets. One here, one down the center, and then we'll have to drill a hole in the bottom. And essentially you're tying the whole bumper to the frame instead of just to the welds on the end. Along with the end cap, the tow hooks need to come off of each side of the frame. So there's that one here and this one on the underside. Now we're just gonna do the exact same thing that we did for the driver's side on the passenger side. Cut out the basic shape of the frame, take away all the excess, and then pop the end cap off. So now all we're gonna do, now that we've got the end caps cut off, we may have to get a grinder in here and clean up some of these edges to weld, but this is going to slide inside the frame just like that. The face of this is supposed to sit flush with the very end of the frame. The end cap pressed into place. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, because the brackets will mount up. I've got slotted holes. But this is what you want. Nice and square to the frame. Insert it in nice and flat. We're gonna go ahead and weld it on now.
Here it is welded.
Yep, welded on.
Now we're working on these arms.
Now we're gonna get these main brackets fastened on here. So
hot. Now we gotta smooth this off here. We're gonna do a little grinding.
Yeah, so now we got this bracket on. Line up that bolt hole. We're gonna start throwing some welds on it. You can weld it as optional. We're gonna weld it just as some extra protection, extra strength. There she is. Good thing is it won't squeak. Now this, we're just gonna have to mouse walk it up. It's gonna get tighter the closer we get the holes to it.